Okay, yes, ready. Okay, so here are the external nares, so your nostril, the opening to your nose. Next, you have the nasal vestibule, which is this whole entry area coming to your nose. Then the nasal cartilage is this little blue line here. It's the flexible part of your nose, hence your cartilage. The nasal bones are right up in here, or if you're looking for them on the skull, they're these tan parts right here, nasal bones. All right, moving on to the nasal cavity. The nasal septum, which you can start to see right in the center here. It's a little dark. This little yellow bone is the vomer. And we can also show you the vomer from the other side. So here's the vomer, and it separates the left and right sides. And then to see the perpendicular plate of the ethmoid, we're going to remove this. Oops, I lost my vomer. So then the perpendicular plate runs right down the center of your ethmoid bone. Put this back real quick. So your vomer fits in here, and everything else goes on top. Just put him back together real fast. Okay, cool. Next, looking at the roof of the mouth or the floor of the nasal cavity, we have the maxilla, is this blue bone here, and we need to know the palatal process, which is the front 2/3 of the roof of your mouth. Going further back, you have the horizontal plate of the palatine bone, and this tan part right here. Then going back to our model, we've got the nasal concave, which are these elevations here. It's the nasal concave. And then you also have the nasal meatus, which are the divots, the holes, the deeper valleys. So those are the nasal meatus. Now going to the paranasal sinuses. The frontal sinus you can see right here, and we also learned that when we learned about the frontal bone. So it's our frontal sinus. Next we have the sphenoid sinus, which is back here, and you can see the divot for the silica turcica. So this is our sphenoid sinus. Next, to see the other two sinuses, we have to go to this flat model. The first one, which is higher up, is the ethmoid sinus. And then going lower, we have the maxillary sinus. On this model, you can also see the concave here, as well as the nasal meatus. So nasal concave, and then the nasal meatus, little divots. This is also the nasal septum down the center. Cool. All right, going back to the model. Okay, so as we have the external nares, we also have the internal nares, which is more of a boundary between the back of the nasal concave and the rest of the nasal passageways. So right here, right along this area, internal nares. Next, going down to the pharynx, the nasopharynx goes from the internal nares to the end of the uvula, which goes all the way down. This is the uvula right here. Here's the tip of it. So it's this space from here all the way up to the internal nares up here. So that is the nasopharynx. Within there, you can see the auditory tube, which runs right along here. Auditory tube. The oropharynx runs from the tip of the uvula, right here, all the way down to the tip of the epiglottis. This is the epiglottis. So from the tip of the uvula to the tip of the epiglottis is our oropharynx. Our laryngopharynx is the space behind the epiglottis, so going from the tip all the way down here. So it's this opening. And again, that's our laryngopharynx. Next, for the larynx, we can see some of the structures on here, but we're also going to go to another model to see them. So, the thyroid cartilage is right up here, and our cricoid cartilage is down here and wraps around the back, becomes bigger in the back. And then we're going to go to this model to take a better look at that. So here's the side view at first, and We've got our thyroid cartilage, which is anterior and lateral. If we go to the other side, you'll be able to see even more of it. And then lower, and it starts small in the front and extends to be very large in the back, is the cricoid cartilage. And as we come back here, it's all of this space. Okay. Next is the arytenoid cartilage, which are these big triangles here, both sides. And then at the very tips of those are called the corniculate cartilage. Very little tips, like our candy corn. Next, the epiglottis on this model is this big flap right here. And it moves down and up just like we saw on the other model. Next, so it's the epiglottis. Our glottis is the opening right here. So it can be open or it can be closed. These flaps are the true vocal folds. Now, we're going to have to go to a different model to see the vestibular folds. So here is our true vocal fold. And above that, this fleshy part is the vestibular folds. And on this model, you can see the epiglottis here, our thyroid cartilage, and our, I have trouble pronouncing this word, cricoid cartilage, which you also see back here. Alright, and then next we're going to go on to the trachea. So if we flip this model over, the trachea is coming down here. These rings are the tracheal cartilage rings, and they're just cartilage that goes around the trachea in a ring. In between those, holding them together, you find your annular ligaments. And that's dense, regular connective tissue ligaments that hold together the trachea. And then we need another model for the lungs. So